In the summer of 1518, a woman walked into the streets of Strasbourg and began to dance, and she would not stop for 6 days. Her name was Frau Trophäa. No music played, no festival was underway. She simply stepped onto the narrow, cobblestoned lane outside her home, and she danced. Hour after hour, her feet struck the ground, her body twisting in movements that had no rhythm, no joy, no reason. Her husband begged her to stop. Neighbors gathered and stared, but she kept going. Through the afternoon heat, through the night, through the pale grey dawn. By the end of the first week, 34 people had joined her. They poured out of homes and workshops, seized by the same uncontrollable compulsion to move. Their faces were masks of terror. They weren't celebrating. They were trapped. Within a month, the number had swollen to over 400. Men, women, even children, dancing through the streets of one of Europe's largest cities, unable to stop, unable to explain why. Some suffered heart attacks. Some had strokes. Some simply danced until their bodies gave out, and they collapsed dead in the street. And the city's leaders had no idea what to do. To understand how this happened, you have to understand what Strasbourg was in 1518. This was a city suffocating. In the years before the plague struck, the people of Strasbourg had endured a devastating sequence of famines. Smallpox swept through the streets. Syphilis, newly arrived in Europe, was ravaging entire neighborhoods. The winters were brutal, and the cost of grain had become ruinous for the poor. These were people living on the razor's edge of survival, and they were deeply, profoundly superstitious. In the folk belief of the region, there existed a saint, St. Vitus, who was said to have the power to curse people with a dancing plague. If you angered him, if you sinned against his name, he could make you dance until you died. This wasn't metaphor. People believed this the way we believe in gravity. So when Frau Trophäa began dancing, the terror spread not just as a medical curiosity, but as a spiritual crisis. Something had been unleashed, and the city council's first response was astonishing. They decided the dancers needed to get it out of their systems. They hired musicians, they built a wooden stage, they opened 2 guild halls, and even a grain market to give the afflicted more room to dance. The authorities literally prescribed more dancing as the cure. It was a catastrophic miscalculation. The epidemic exploded. More people joined. The music didn't calm the dancers. It seemed to accelerate them. Witnesses described scenes of utter pandemonium. Hundreds of bodies jerking and flailing in crowded halls, screaming, weeping, unable to stop their own limbs from moving. Only after weeks of failure did the council reverse course. The musicians were dismissed. The stages were torn down. The dancers were carried, many of them barely conscious, to a mountaintop shrine dedicated to St. Vitus himself. There they were given blessed crosses, holy oil, and red shoes placed upon their feet as part of a ritual of healing. And then, gradually, mysteriously, the dancing stopped. One by one, the afflicted regained control. The plague faded as strangely as it had begun. So what actually happened? Modern historians have proposed several theories. One is ergotism, poisoning from ergot fungus that grows on damp grain. Ergot contains chemicals related to LSD and can cause convulsions and hallucinations. But most scholars have dismissed this because ergot typically restricts blood flow to the limbs, making coordinated movement nearly impossible. The leading theory today is that the dancing plague was an extraordinary case of mass psychogenic illness, a stress-induced trance state that spread through a population primed by terror, starvation, and supernatural belief. These people were so afraid of being cursed by St. Vitus that their fear became a self-fulfilling prophecy. Their minds broke under the weight of unimaginable stress, and their bodies followed. What happened in Strasbourg in 1518 is a window into something terrifying about what it means to be human. Our minds are not separate from our bodies. Our beliefs are not harmless abstractions. Under the right conditions, what a community believes can become what a community experiences. 400 people danced because they were afraid of dancing, and some of them died because of it. The cobblestones of Strasbourg still lie beneath the modern pavement, and somewhere beneath them is the echo of footsteps that wouldn't stop.